was a lovely example of it. Jen prompted it with something she said, and Andy, you made it real for me with the word personalised. A few months ago, one of our delegates involved in the construction of nuclear submarines, he's got a very responsible job in a dangerous environment. He was telling the story of how he had a really awkward conversation to have with a colleague who had basically got himself extremely annoyed and agitated about something that wasn't going terribly well. And he was using one of the tools that we had in the space of about 4 seconds. And it boiled down to his conclusion within 4 seconds that what I need to do here is take this guy for a walk and we'll have a little chat. And it'll help to deflate the bubble that has burst. It hasn't burst, but it's going to burst in his mind if we can't just calm him down. And goodness me, in 4 seconds, I think he used something that has a deeply behavioural psychological root and turned it into something that actually worked in a shipyard. And I love that because this is a group of people who have great technical skill and great awareness of each other, but they're not necessarily so used to people coming in with psychology and having a mindset to actually use the thing in a valuable way at work. And of course, taking this guy for a walk worked. And I've been in touch with him quite a lot in the subsequent few months. And that sort of simple thing is making a difference to how he takes the lead with his team. Very frantic atmosphere, very difficult, pressurized job, but a much calmer place as a result of the way he's taking the lead. And that little insight told me where we were probably making a small difference in description terms, but a fundamental one in day-to-day terms.
Building self-awareness for people gives them that opportunity to reflect. And that's one of the nice things we do at the beginning of the Actif4 Leadership Programme is collecting that 360 feedback, but also people's self-report on the LIFO tool, which really helps them get some insight into how they actually behave, what they actually do. And I think the combination of those data sources gives them a little bit more of that self-awareness. And then when they start thinking about the application of the tools, you mentioned it before, Ian, just getting into a habit of pausing before we react to things. So, even just with that self-awareness of noticing that you're feeling frustrated or annoyed or somebody else is acting in that way, we're often tempted to meet the person with the same emotional state, but we know that often doesn't get us the outcome we want. So taking that moment to pause and think about, okay, what's going to work here? What tools do I have at my disposal? And as you say, it doesn't take long. This is the stuff of seconds, but it can have a massive impact then on the outcome people ultimately get. So I think that the foundation of the programme, starting with that self-awareness, so some self-reflection through the LIFO tool, but also feedback from colleagues, your direct reports, your line manager, and again, a bit of self-assessment really helps to give people a good starting point to build that awareness.
I think just to build on what you're saying, Jen, that emotional intelligence side of it, there's two pieces to it. It's all about understanding yourself and about understanding others. So, immediately the person understood that someone else was going through difficulty, which is a big part of the self-awareness piece that we teach, and the emotional intelligence piece that we teach. So he was aware that someone else was having difficulty. Then he was self-aware enough to check his emotions and sort of help in any way they can. But then taking that step back and reaching into the toolbox, because it's more than one tool that we give everyone, and knowing which tool to use when is the impressive piece. So, the whole story, I think, is very telling in that, he realized that someone needed his assistance. He knew he had to take a step back and provide that assistance and reach into the toolbox that he'd been provided, and provided the right tool and, at the right time. So, it's a pretty impressive story, and reinforces, I think, a lot of what we do here, and which is always pleasing to hear, because, hearing stories about how we make a positive impact in the workplace is very, very encouraging.